For my final project, I created a GIS web application that enables GIS technicians for the city of Alexandria to compare their authoritative data source to that of crowdsourced OpenStreetMap data. This web application aims to help them to identify potential areas of interest for editing and adding features. Each data source consists of 4 specific layers from each data set, which includes parks, trails, roads, and building footprints. In order to set up my web application, I created a spatially enabled Postgres database containing the 4 distinct features for each data source. The government data is prefixed with Esri and is located on the left of my web application, and the OpenStreetMap data is prefixed with OSM and located on the right side of my web application. To render thousands of features in the browser at once, I chose to deploy Geoserver on top of my Apache Tomcat server. That way I could serve my database layers as images using WMS. After connecting my database and loading my layers into Geoserver, I was able to create a WMS layer group for each of my 2 data sources. This allows for the rendering and retrieval of attribution for all 4 layers using only one request to the server. Within the browser, I'm able to click on any type of feature and retrieve its corresponding attribution with a pop-up rendered on both maps. That was a park that I just clicked on, so if I go ahead and I click on a building footprint, exact same data layer, I'm able to pull, distinct attributes just because they're all grouped within that one specific layer. So I can pull up roads, trails, building footprints, and parks all within just that one layer. The core functionality that exists for my map, the first one you're seeing right now, is just browsing the map. The other ones that exist would include flagging an area of interest. So that would be finding data in the OpenStreetMap side that does not exist in the Esri side and basically putting down a point and designating what type of feature type you're missing and what you need to eventually go back into your traditional GIS desktop software and add. If you want to go and edit a layer, you can go ahead and click on a layer in your Esri source, and basically you get a form that allows you to make edits to that specific data layer. And you can base that off of what you see in the OSM, or if you just want to make a marking and take a notification that you want to change some attribute later in the GIS software, there's a field that allows you to just place a comment and it'll just be there for when you pull it into your software. You can also export the changes and the edits that you make within this web application to the desktop. So basically, if you choose to export parks, buildings, trails, or roads, it's going to go ahead and send a zipped shape file to your desktop where you're able to bring in a traditional GIS software and see any type of change that you made within the web application. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and place a point of interest. So I see right here within the county data, there's no trail or parking lot here, but in the OSM data, that does exist. So if I drop a point right here, this is that dialog box I was talking about. So I'll go ahead and say that I want to add a parking lot and investigate if a trail exists. So if I go ahead and hit submit, that'll go ahead and send a insert request to my Geoserver, and it's able to kind of render in real time a brand new point that will show the content that I just added within that dialog window. So there's your flagged feature type roads, and my comment about adding a parking lot and seeing if there's a trail there. If I want to go ahead and make an edit to one of these features, basically I would switch over to the edit layer mode, but first I'm going to go ahead and focus on a specific park right here. So if I click on this park here, I see within the county data that there are 2 different names for the park, and within OSM it's just Landover Park. So I'm not sure if this is Landover Park is the new name for this park or if it's now Warwick or what. So I'm going to go ahead and make a note of that by switching to my edit layer mode. So if I go ahead and I click on the feature on my county data map, a form will come up and allow me to basically make changes to this. For the sake of keeping kind of the data all intact, I'm just going to go ahead and say investigate the name of this park. If I go ahead and click submit, that's going to add what I believe would be an edit feature request. And you can see it's now rendered with a dynamic styling with my SLD. And that's just basically saying if that comment field that I just populated is changed within the database, just highlight it as green on the map so that I can keep track of the edits that I'm making. I can also go ahead and just edit other features within here. I don't have to toggle between different layers. So if I go ahead and I click on this building footprint right here, and I just want to like compare the two data sources through browsing. I can go ahead and look through here, see when this was built. I don't really have a lot of information about what kind of building it is, but if I look over here, the OSM data says that it's a car shop. So if I want to go ahead and make a note of that, or I want to add that as my attribute within this feature, all I have to do is click on it. I get the form that retrieves all those, and I can make changes accordingly. So I'm going to say it was built a different year. I'm going to say that the owner of it is myself, and I'm going to just say, make a note that this is a car shop. So if I go ahead and hit submit, it'll send another modify request to the server, and you can see it's also dynamically rendered with that SLD rule. So now if I want to just go ahead and export the changes that I've made during this session, I can go ahead and go to my export tab here. And for the sake of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and just export out building footprints. And within a couple of seconds, you're going to see a download to my desktop of those building footprints. It's a pretty big layer. All right, so I got those there. Extract that. I can bring that into QGIS. So I've got QGIS open right here. If I go ahead and drag these building footprints within QGIS, you can see that they all render and download from the Geoserver. And if I want to just see if the change that I just made in my edit session is within this data set, I can go ahead and just sort on this edit column, which is what's used to dynamically render that highlighted appearance of the building footprint. And I can see that I've got my edit comment there. I've got that ownership field that I changed, and I changed the year built. So to kind of quickly recap, so this web application, the intention is just being able to basically put down flags, make changes to existing features based on what you see in the OpenStreetMap data. If there's any type of discrepancies, just purely based on attribution. And you're also able to bring that out and bring it into a traditional desktop software if you want to be able to append to your existing data layer, or if you want to just override it altogether, or even just do some further investigation within traditional GIS software.